You are listening to ESL Talk, a podcast made for English teachers by English teachers.
Hello, and welcome to a new episode of ESL Talk. I hope you enjoyed last week's episode, learning how to attract and retain more students for your ESL business. We hope you found it useful.
Yeah, today we are going to examine the power of social media and how this can help you as an ESL teacher. Not only can you promote your services, you can also attract new students, which is what we talked about last week. You can demonstrate your content, build discussion, and involve your learners outside the classroom too.
Yeah, it is truly incredible how many people you can reach nowadays by using the right approach on the several different platforms that we have available to us. And I really want to share with you all my Instagram success story and how I managed to go from 300 followers to over 15,000 in 2 months. It sounds like a BuzzFeed clickbait article.
Well, I think you're up. I think the last time I checked is over 17,000 now. So
yeah,
it's just
I'm approaching
snowballs.
18. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing. So not only will we hear about Faye's success with social media, but we'll also talk to our guest today, Serene. She's a social media expert and ESL teacher too, and she regularly produces a lot of English teaching content for her followers. But I think, first of all, we should listen and learn with Faye. No pun intended. So Faye, can you tell us a little bit about your journey using social media to spread your teaching message? How did it all begin?
Sure. Yeah. I started my Instagram account, Learning with Faye, last December, actually, as a way to get back in touch with my students and into teaching again. I had just come out of a 1-year maternity leave with my daughter still at home. And my goal was to kind of transition slowly into a more flexible teaching from home setting, kind of make my own hours because of the pandemic. But also because I still had to take care of my daughter. I didn't really want to put her in daycare with the pandemic and everything. I did not expect my profile to take off as quickly as it did, though. It actually made me a little bit stressed out, like I had to be doing more faster. But my goal was to make a new post every day. That's how I started out, and to use the stories feature a lot on Instagram to engage with my followers as a way to teach and review. That's a great way to basically do that back and forth that we get in the classroom. And I managed to stay pretty consistent. As a result, my following started to grow exponentially. It was crazy. Went from like getting 30 followers a day, 200 a day, and then 500, and then it was like 2,000 followers a day.
Wow.
And until it kind of slowed down, but now it's picking up again.
Yeah.
And as of the time of this recording, I think I'm approaching 20,000 followers from all over the globe.
Incredible. And you've kind of hit the nail on the head. You talked about consistency. And like I tried a few things, and I'm like, well, I got to work. I got to get this class ready. I've got to teach this job and do this. And it's just really, really difficult. So I guess having that determination and that kind of, having that discipline to be able to do
focus,
it every day.
Right?
Yeah.
It's easy to get your fingers in a lot of pies and then you don't really finish anything. And yeah, it's just focusing on one thing really helps.
It's awesome. So Faye, why do you think many teachers find it difficult to connect with their learners? Because I see all the time teachers say, I'm finding it really tough to attract my learners. I don't know how to get new students, and I'm trying social media, but it's not working. So what do you think is the difference? So what might they be missing?
It's kind of what I just said. I think it's a bit overwhelming because there's just so much out there. There's Instagram, TikTok, Telegram, WhatsApp groups, Facebook, and often you think that you need to have either all of them or do all of it, or you're just like, oh, I'm not going to do any of it. It's just too much. But it's very time consuming, to be honest. I'm only focusing on Instagram. I started a YouTube channel that I haven't uploaded a single video to yet. But just my Instagram upkeep, basically. I spend about 10 hours a week just doing that, creating content, responding to messages, posting on my stories. So it does take up a lot of your time. But I do think just targeting your audience, just focusing on one tool, at least to start with, is definitely the best way to do it.
Yeah, I would say so.
And what about you, your journey on social media? How's it been for you?
It's very different to yours. I did experiment with Instagram maybe like a year ago, and I got a slow, steady following, a few hundred followers, but I'm kind of a perfectionist, and when I look at something, I'm like, I don't like this, so I'll delete it and I'll try to improve it and make it better. What I was doing as well is I was creating, like, as of obviously last March when everything went into lockdown and we started teaching online, I was creating a lot of material and content for my students, my university students that I teach. And then I realized, okay, well, if I'm going to make a video for them, why don't I just make a video and put it on YouTube? Because I might be able to help some other learners. And I think I made a couple of videos kind of for teachers, how to help teachers. I did a couple on writing. I took them down again, but one video that I put up, it's terrible. It's not edited at all, but it still got like almost 4,000 views, and I got really good feedback. So that was encouraging and that kind of helped me. But again, like YouTube is kind of, I think, where I'm going to focus because, I kind of teach IELTS the most. That's what I really enjoy. And that's what I like to kind of focus on. And I think there's a lot of potential growth for that and a lot of people doing that, but I don't just want to do it for the sake of it. I want to do it well. And I want to take the right steps, which kind of leads me to my next question. So what are some simple steps that teachers can take to start increasing their social media presence, Faye? What would you say?
Just get started, honestly. Like, and when you were talking, it just reminded me of me. I think as teachers, a lot of us are perfectionists. It kind of attracts this type of personality, teaching,
I think so.
Being like a planner, organize everything, and so it's very easy to just want to plan everything and have the perfect posts and the perfect videos before you even start. But as you said, you just like started putting stuff on YouTube and people started liking it. And it was the same with me on my Instagram. At first, I had all these different plans and all these different templates for what I was going to use. And I'd been doing that for about a month. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start. Because if I start posting, if I make my profile public, then I'll have to keep going. Right. And just like kind of lit that fire that I needed under me. And once you get started, you will change. And like you said, there will be things you don't like and you're like, I should delete this, or, oh, you can if you want, but you're like, oh, why did I say that? Why did I do it that way? I look at my first video I posted. I'm like, oh, that angle and that lighting and, and like, why did I make that face? And it's normal. It's all a learning process for us too. But so some things is just start, and you don't have to do what I did and post every day, and you don't have to post a grammar lesson on present perfect. It's like that takes a long time to create.
Exactly.
Just you can do inspirational quotes or quote of the day, word of the day, simple picture vocabulary. Just keep it simple, and then as you grow and become more confident, you can just branch out a little bit more. Yeah.
Wonderful.
That's what I would say.
Good advice. Yeah. And I think you make it sound so simple, just get started, but I think that's the most difficult step for everyone, right? So yeah, that's great. So just thinking about what's worked well for you and kind of what your success has been coming down to, I guess I'll ask you, what are some topics and themes that you think get the most positive feedback and students enjoy the most?
Yeah, definitely the Reels. I don't know if everybody's familiar with it, but the Reels on Instagram are basically Instagram's version of TikTok style videos. No dancing, though. I don't do the dancing ones.
Not yet. There's still time.
You don't have to. I'm proof that you don't have to do the little dancing videos. But yeah, maybe. I never say never. But they're just 30-second videos. You have to keep them under 30 seconds. So it has to be objective, right? And my most watched Reel has currently over 500,000 views. And it is titled Parts of a Door.
Wow.
I did not expect that to be my most popular video. It's literally me showing a door handle, the door frame,
the hinge, the brackets.
Hinge. But you know what? These are words that I don't remember ever seeing in a course book in my 14 years of teaching. That's so really it is point. Things that are simple. And maybe to a native speaker even, and I had a few native speakers see my video and be like, what the hell is this? Like, who doesn't know this? And I'm like, you're not my target audience. This is for ESL students.
Right.
But the ESL students love it. And to this day, my husband and I joke that it's become like the bane of my existence. I get messages, do more parts of a door. Do more videos like parts of a door. That's definitely what my followers want.
Are those genuine comments, or is some people trolling, or a little bit of both?
No, genuine, like private messages.
Great. That's awesome.
So I started a series on parts of that I make now: bathroom, street, grocery store. Once a week, I post these videos, and they're a great hit, a huge hit. That's not what I do, only because I do want to attract the students that want to learn more than just vocabulary, right?
Right.
But it is a good way to attract new followers. So like I said, simple vocabulary has definitely been the most popular to get new followers, new, let's say, potential students. And then the videos I've made on ways to say things are also quite popular. So like, instead of saying I think, you can say in my opinion, the way I see it. Those are very applicable for exams as well. And that's more of the niche that I want to tap into, right? But yeah, it's things that are objective and immediately applicable to students. That's what you want to put out there on social media. But in your case, I know you've had a lot more success on YouTube. How do you find that that's different from what I've seen, and what are some of your videos like?
So for me, again, it's breaking things down really simply. So the ones that have worked well are like short guides, how to write an essay, how to do a cause effect essay, how to do a compare contrast essay. Breaking something very difficult down into easy steps, I think, is really useful for students, because pretty much every student has to write essays in school or university or college. So how do I break that down into a way that's simple, clear, and easy to understand? So as I said, not massively successful, but relatively, a few thousand people decided to spend time watching it. And from what I saw in the analytics, they watched almost all of it because they need to know the steps and they could follow it. So I've got to write a cause effect essay. How do I do that? Here's the steps, break it down step by step, 5 steps, follow the steps. I've done it. So that's kind of the approach that I take. Again, nowhere near the same level of success as you, but you mentioned Reels, and I just kind of experimented with Reels a few weeks ago, not permanently, just wanted to see how it worked. And like one that I did, which was super basic, just like a word, and it was like got more than 1,500 views in a day. And I'm like, wow, so it does work. But again, like we both said, we're perfectionists, and I wasn't happy with it, so I took it down. But it's definitely good to know, and it's something I will definitely try to do in the future. So what's next for you? I guess, you're growing all the time and getting a lot of success. So what's next for you, Faye, in your social media journey?
Well, I really want to take a page off of your book and start adding content to my YouTube channel. That's always been the goal. I just really haven't had the time. But I really want to produce more in-depth content, like a lesson, really, like revising, like let's review narrative tenses, past tenses, and things like that. Grammar is something I haven't been able to cover much on Instagram, because I don't think I can do it justice with the format we have on Instagram, right? Like 30 seconds or even Instagram TV. Most people don't watch those till the end. When you're on Instagram, you're not there for like a 15-minute video. Yeah. So I do want to do that more. And that's my goal now, is just to focus more on my YouTube channel. We'll see when I have the time to do it.
I was just going to say about that. Generally the attention span of people on Instagram might be 4 or 5 minutes, right? But definitely compiling things together and maybe doing collections, or getting all your content and putting it together, that could be a good way. One niche I guess our listeners might find useful if they teach younger learners is reading a book. Just reading a book aloud on YouTube with, a nice background and some nice music. Like I know a friend who read Harry Potter, just read it and sat in an armchair like they were in a living room, and it got hundreds of thousands of views. So it's definitely
like
doable.
an audiobook, but maybe you can slow it down.
I think a lot of parents or, children, they just want to listen to it in the background or whatever. So again, that's potentially something that teachers could look at in the future.
Yeah, that's really great advice. I mean, there's so many things we can do with the tools we have nowadays, and lots of tips and stories shared here for all of you. So hopefully that'll give some of you some inspiration. Now, let's hear from our guest today, Serene, who will add her expertise and knowledge to the discussion. Serene, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. So my name is Serene Benor. Hello. So I am actually fond of English, and that's what my social media is all about. I share new English words, new motivational videos, and everything that relates to idioms and so on. So if you're interested, please follow me on Instagram. And my Instagram is English with Cici. So
Yeah, of course, we'll be happy to share that with our listeners. And again, that's English with CC, and that's SYSY, just in case you were checking.
Perfect. So can you tell us a bit about how you first got started producing this kind of content on social media?
well, I started getting into this world thanks to the nonprofit organization that I volunteered in. Its name is Junior Chamber International. They discovered that hobby in me and they encouraged me to share it on social media. And that's how it blew up by night, actually. People started waiting for my content. And I also had an English professor who used to always encourage me to even start a YouTube channel. So maybe I'm thinking about that.
That's awesome. It's always good to have an inspiration for sure. And that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why did you decide to use social media? Why did you think, it was the best option for you to share your content? And which platforms did you start using when you first began?
Well, I have started this journey during COVID. So social media was our resort to express ourselves. And I figured, why not just sharing my hobby in that platform and benefit from it? I'm using Instagram and Facebook for now, and maybe I will shift to YouTube, as I said before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we talked about that earlier, Faye, that Facebook is kind of, it has its benefits, but I think for what we're trying to do, and for you particular, Serene, I think Instagram is probably a better fit right now for most of us.
Yeah, it seems like things are shifting a bit, right? So if you've had a following on Facebook for a while, that's great. And it's good to build that. But I think for people just starting out, Instagram seems to be the easier way to go and to grow fast anyway.
Yes, exactly. Even TikTok, actually.
Right.
I was discussing this earlier. Even TikTok now makes people go viral, and that's when it leads to their Instagram's page. So it's awesome to just, take this opportunity and just maybe blow out on TikTok.
That's true. That's another one people can use. And what kind of skills do you think people need to be able to promote their content on social media?
I would say every content creator has to have his own touch when creating a video, and that would make him special and attractive to the audience. Not to forget being up to date and knowing what the audience preferences is. Also, consistency is the key. You have to be consistent with your content in order to attract the audience and just be there in their mind. So I would say that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Consistency is key for everything. And I think this is what holds back a lot of teachers from maybe being as successful as they could be, because they just not able to provide that consistency. So when we think about English as a language and teaching English, Serene, what do you think are the main advantages of using social media to share English with your audience?
Well, using social media to teach English will actually give you the opportunity to just have a bigger network. Like, you will have a lot of people from around the world, and that's the plus for me. I have got to know a lot of people, and I have gotten a lot of opportunities through posting on social media. So I would say this is the most advantage that I see when posting on social media.
Yeah, it's definitely great to have that direct contact with your followers and your audience. But can you think of any downsides that come as a result of that, or any annoyances to having all this following on social media?
Well, yes, mostly it's the audience's pressure. Sometimes, for example, when you are not really responsive because you have work or you study, it will make the audience just judge you and consider you as a bad content creator. They will start giving those bad reviews, and this would affect your brand image. This will affect you.
How do you kind of deal with that when people are reaching out to you and they're asking you, can you help me with this, can you do this, are you able to work with me on this? Like, what kind of ways of communicating do you have to kind of deal with those requests and also kind of maintain some professionalism and expectation as well?
Well, if it is something really simple and I can help with, I would do that. But if it's something really huge and they're just making that burden on me, I would say I would help you with that. I would assist you with that, but I wouldn't give you the whole thing. You'll have, there has to be a fee for it, or I can just give you the minimum that you really need. That's what I say. And I also just include that I am a student too. So I don't really have the whole time to just respond to everybody,
Yeah.
So That's how it is.
That's a good point. It's easy to get those lines blurred on social media and for followers not to see those boundaries because they have that direct line to you, right? But it's important sometimes to remind the followers and people there that you have a job. This is your job, right? If you're teaching and you're providing them with free content, there's only so much you can do for free. So yeah, usually I like to point people to like ways that they can be self-sufficient. I think that helps as well, right? Rather than saying, "Oh, sorry, I can't help you." Like you said, you'd always try to help them, right? And you mentioned that too. But you kind of give them the tools to go and kind of do it on their own and just come back to you if they have questions. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So when it comes to creating the content, Serene, is there a lot of trial and error involved? You know, for me, I know when I've produced things, I might painstakingly go over every detail for 2 or 3 hours and then put it up and think, I don't like the way it looks, so I need to change this. And does that happen a lot in your process, creating content and material?
Yes, of course, absolutely. It takes me some time to just post a video because first of all, I don't really do scripts for my videos. That's my own touch. I just develop the idea of the video, the expected outcome, and then I start rehearsing. Sometimes after completing the whole video, I just give up on it because it doesn't really meet my expectations, which is bad, but it's good too because you want to just deliver a good content to the audience.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's very true. And how do you engage with them then? How do you engage with your followers and keep them interested in your content?
Well, first of all, I would try to sometimes the audience just imposes on you a certain content. So I would just respond by posting that content that they want, but with my own touch. I would be responsive. And when it comes to DMs, that's a way also to just interact with your audience and just show them that you really care about them because audience is the king. So that's what I do to just keep them always interested in my account. And of course, you'll have to be consistent. You'll have to post whether stories, reels, or IGTVs to just make them just have you in their mind. Make them wait for you, actually.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's great if they're kind of waiting for the next thing. And I think it goes back to what you said before about not having a script and trying to be kind of natural and spontaneous. I think learners definitely respond to that. And if they see that approach and that connection, then it's going to benefit you and hopefully them as well. So as a result of this kind of personal touch and this style that you have you been able to find students or work opportunities or kind of other things you can do as a result of this social media channel?
Yes, I actually have found a lot of students through my social media. I have got to know a lot of people through social media, and I have got a lot of opportunities, a lot of work opportunities, a lot of podcasts like opportunities. And this is really appealing to me. That's the best part of being a content creator.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what advice would you give ESL teachers who want to promote their English content through social media?
Well, from my humble experience, I would advise teachers not to opt for the traditional educational videos. They are now a bit boring for the audience. Each ESL teacher has to have a certain personal touch. So they would just maybe use that in their benefit to just deliver a good content and to just attract the audience. That's what I can say from my experience.
I think that's a great point with like trying to be original, but also staying true to yourself, your brand, adding that personal touch, which also ties in with being consistent with that, right? So yeah, all great lessons, great advice.
Would you say there's an optimal amount or an optimal time for your videos? Do you think 2 minutes is good or 3 minutes is good? Should we ever go more than 5 or 7 minutes? What do you think?
No, 1 to 2 minutes are fine, but if you are really, you can attract the audience from the very first seconds, you're good to go. But I would say 1 minute is fine. It's just fine. Because if you just increase that, they wouldn't just continue the whole video and the benefit from it wouldn't be really delivered to them. So I would say 1 minute is fine, is okay.
Yeah. And do you find a combination of, for example, on Instagram, posts, stories, reels, do you think it's good to have a combination, or do you think there's just 1 or 2 things you should do to be effective?
No, you'll have to have a combination. You would sometimes just post an IGTV, sometimes it's a reel, sometimes it's stories. So you will have to it has to be a mix in order to make them just interact with you.
Have you found the same, Faye, in your experience so
Yeah,
far?
absolutely. I was actually talking to a follower who's also a teacher recently, and he has great content on his Instagram. But I was just telling him you have to start making reels if you want to get more followers, because he was only posting those carousel posts, and which is great. They're very educational, very visual. But he said, "Oh, but I don't know if that will work with the design of my profile." And this is something I hear a lot from a lot of people. They try to make their Instagram profile, all the posts look really nice and neat, which is something we do on ESL Talk podcast, but we're not teaching through Instagram, right? We're just advertising our episodes. But I always say worry less about the look of your profile as a whole, but worry more about having an identity. Like Serene said, have your brand, your personal identity, and let's say a few colors that you use, but then do a variety of posts, videos, pictures, and things like that. With that brand, people will still know it's you, and you'll keep it original, you'll keep it interesting, and definitely kind of approach people from all sides.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
I just want to add something that with Reels, you will reach more audience than just posting an IGTV or a story.
Exactly.
So it's really beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about this at the beginning of the episode, how that's definitely how I grew to now nearly 20,000 followers. It just
more than 20,000.
Yeah, I guess right now we've surpassed that number.
Yeah. It's funny
but
you
it's
say
viral.
that. Yeah, because I was just kind of doing a bit of trial and error, but again, consistency is my biggest problem. And I pushed out just a couple of really boring, super simple, basic reels and still getting like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 views. So it definitely does work. So I can attest to that. Yeah. So Serene, what's the future for English with CC? Where do you want to go with it? And kind of what are your plans going forward?
Well, for now, I am just focusing on my studies, but it's something that I'm planning. It's a project for me. I would like to just make it viral more than now. I would like to just be more consistent, because for now, I am honestly not really being consistent because of my life, but I would love to just make it as a work for me. It's really something I love, and I just look forward to just be in that field. So that's it. I would make plans to just make it more of a job for me, maybe.
That's great.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today, Serene.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Wow, what another fascinating episode today. I definitely learned a lot, and I'll be trying some of these techniques on my social media accounts too. Hopefully you can also try them.
Yes, absolutely. Me too. And as always, remember to subscribe to receive the latest episodes each Wednesday. You can follow us on Instagram at ESL Talk Podcast, or you can send us an email to esltalkpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, as always, guys, feel free to reach out if you'd like to be a part of the podcast, if you have any questions or you'd like to give us your feedback.
Yes, and tune in next Wednesday for another brand new episode. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe for new episodes and to follow us on Instagram and Facebook for even more ESL teaching content.